Hi there, I'm Andre from Peak Motorcycles and I'm here in the Peak District on this beautiful sunny day, and today I'm going to be riding this bike, and this is a Benelli Leoncino 800 Trail. If you want to get a close-up look at the bike, I have done one other video for that which you should see already up there, but this video is very much focused on what this bike is like to ride. So I'm going to take it for a run around the Peak District, visit a few points which some of you may recognise, and just really see what it's like. To give you a very quick overview, it's an 800cc parallel twin, makes about 80 horsepower. Redline looks as though it's at 10,500 revs, costs under £7,000 in the UK. It's got spoked wheels and Pirelli Scorpion Rallies fitted as standard, which give it that sort of off-road scrambler look. I'm not quite sure how effective it would actually be as an off-road bike, but that isn't really what I'm here to try today. Here I'm just going to take it for a run around the roads and to see what it's like. So my very first thoughts getting on this bike, it feels in a slightly forward position, slightly more forward than you'd find on an adventure bike, but those high bars that kink up are actually very comfortable indeed. The seats are fairly narrow, it's not sort of adventure bike wide, but feels comfortable enough, and actually feels more comfortable than the TRK 702 seat did when I sat on that earlier. It certainly feels like it wants to go. Let me put my visor down, maybe that's easier to hear me. But yeah, this is just in fourth gear, loads and loads of torque. That's only doing 3,000 revs, and the red line is all the way up there at 11. It's really busy out on the roads today. But even that in fourth, just opening that throttle a little, and this just pulls. So yeah, I didn't really know what to expect with this, to be honest. But riding it here today, I think I'm just going to have a really fun day. The mirrors, yeah, they certainly stick out far enough to the sides. It's actually quite a wide handlebar. So for me, where I'm used to seeing half my shoulders in them, that's nice to have a good view behind me. The dash is very clear. I haven't really had a chance to do any speed yet, but we'll see what that's like when I do. Coming up to Mamnick now, just see what this has got, and it's certainly got plenty of oomph to overtake like that. See if this gentleman on a Deauville is going to move aside a little. But yeah, this bike just goes and goes and goes. Well, hey, I mean, that really is a huge amount of fun. I just glanced down, I think I was only doing about 6,000 or 7,000 revs when I started giggling. But yeah, if you're wondering how much fun you can have for £7,000, even just through these twisties, it's just a hoot. You know, if you don't fancy losing your license with a litre naked bike and you want something to go out and have a play on for not a huge amount of money, early indications with this is that it is a barrel of laughs. Riding this bike around here, especially in the upper end of the rev range, really is just fabulous. That exhaust has a lovely note, you know, not offensively loud. I'm not wearing earplugs, but I can feel every thump of that engine as it winds up. And for just going for a ride around these roads, 50-60 mile an hour limits, there's just so much there. You know, the sixth gear, it's almost quiet. What's that? 50 miles an hour, 3,500 revs. That's very docile. But you know, you drop it down fifth, fourth even, and it just goes. Must remember to make the left hand bend down here at the bottom of this steep hill. And while it was very much at home on that, which was, I guess, a fast B road, you know, well paved, lots of space, even on these little country lanes, the bike feels very, well, it doesn't feel light, it's not a light bike, but it's very easy to ride. The engine is, I suppose, it's not overly aggressive, so the engine is very manageable lower down the rev range, and then when you do crank it up, there is that fun to be had in there. So as I've been riding, I've been thinking about the competition. You know, with these sort of retro looks, especially with that exhaust and that sort of scrambler feel to it, you know, it's certainly Triumph 800 twin sort of territory. The closest thing I think I have in my garage at home is my Ducati Scrambler 800, which is a V-twin, not an inline twin, but nevertheless, I think it's probably that same sort of target sort of retro market. And I think Benelli have done a really good job. You know, yes, it is made to a price point. Some of the switchgear looks a little bit more budget, but from a riding experience perspective, and for £7,000, I think that they've done a remarkable job. It's just, well, just a lot of fun. This is why I love motorcycling. You can just get out on your own, forget about the world and everything in it, and just enjoy this incredible scenery on a device like this. Yeah, it's a lovely way to spend a sunny afternoon. Now, I've been having so much fun riding. I've just been enjoying this bike for exactly what it's for, enjoying this spectacular scenery and just enjoying being out riding motorcycles. So I haven't really done very much talking about the bike itself, which is kind of the point of this video, so let me try. The engine I already love. I think you've probably gathered that from the giggles and stuff. The brakes seem very, very sturdy. There was a bit of modulation coming through the front, I noticed earlier at low speed, just a bit of on off, not actually off, but you know, just sort of harder, softer when I wasn't really moving my fingers very much. The rear brake seems to be fine, but then again, I've had dry roads, sunshine, you know, tyres and brakes up to temperature, so you know, I'm not really expecting anything differently there. The riding position does still feel very comfortable. There is a bit of wind coming through, as you would expect on a naked bike. That fly screen does do a little, it does just break it up a little bit. The bike is very easy to get around these sorts of bends. I suppose the last thing that I owned that was even vaguely similar to this, well, I suppose is my Ducati Scrambler 800, but I had a Honda CB 1000R, and while it was a very, very quick bike, you know, it was also fairly heavy, and some of these sort of lower speed manoeuvres you really had to watch out. This just feels very easy. I mean, coming down here into Millersdale, there's a very sharp hairpin, second gear, first gear easily slots in, and the bike just tips in really nicely and is very easy to control. Lower down the revs, the bike just purrs, but then as soon as you get in here, it just sings. And you don't need to be going super fast to be able to get that fun out of it. The mirrors, no vibrations there. The engine does sound, sorry, I don't mean this is a positive thing, not a negative thing. There's a coarseness to that exhaust note when you open it up. I don't mean that it sounds vibey, and it certainly doesn't feel vibey. I had no numbness in my hands, no, nothing really there, but I suppose it goes with maybe the look. You know, for this sort of scrambler, old school look with those slash cut exhausts, to have that feel and that sensation coming up through the bike while you're riding. I probably feel it more in the seat than I do anywhere else. It's not a terrible thing. I keep talking about how much fun this bike is to ride, and I really mean that. Can't tell you anything about the headlamps, as I don't think I'm going to be riding in the dark at all. Suspension is firm, you know, it's definitely not an off-road bike, but it holds the road very well, and as a road bike, even with these sort of 50/50 Pirelli Scorpion Rally tyres on, I'm barely noticing it. You know, I might as well be on road tyres, which is probably a testament just to the ride quality. I'm now heading back home. It's been a really fun afternoon, just coming out and just playing on this bike. If it seems to be maybe a slightly vague review of it, I think one of the challenges with a naked bike like this is they're not designed to be particularly practical. You know, you can't talk about them in the context of, you know, being a tourer or a travel bike or adventure bike, or as an off-roader. You know, they are designed to be simple, bare bones, no wind protection, and this is exactly what it does. So I think it is more about how it makes you feel. You know, if you want a bike you're going to ride all year round, you're probably not going to pick something like this. I mean, I'm sure you could, but there's plenty of reasons why this is not the right choice for that sort of requirement. I think what this is the right sort of choice for is days like this, where you want to go out, you just want to ride for a few hours and enjoy the countryside, you know, have a bit of fun, enjoy the sound of that motor. I mean, I'm in fifth at the moment, just tootling along at 40. I'll drop that down to third when there's a bit of space, and just for that feeling, just for that roar that you get from it, and it really is just, yeah, a huge amount of fun. So it's hard to review it from purely based on, you know, whether or not it's fit for purpose. It absolutely is if your purpose is using it as a naked bike to come out for a bit of a play every now and again. And for that, for £7 grand, I think it's a steal. You can do trails on it, and I'll do another very short video where maybe I took it on a couple of trails. But as you can probably guess, it's not made for it. No bike that handles this well on the road, with suspension as hard as this and this sort of comfortable riding position, is going to be a good trail bike. It just isn't. But the fact that you can ride trails on it, and I've done a couple today, and you very much can, certainly says something that if you're never going to buy this bike for that purpose, but if you had this bike and you wanted to try a few easy trails, then it's perfectly capable of doing it, and without any extra investment. I mean, yes, maybe a bash guard and some crash bars might help, but if you're careful, as I am, then you might not drop it. Especially if you're doing gravel roads or sort of hard pack, I think you'd be absolutely fine. There's a couple of rocky bits that I took it on my ride where I didn't feel like it was in the right place. But the fact you can get to that point anyway, I never would have taken my CB1000R with the road tyres that it came on a trail like that. Whereas this with the spoke wheels and the Pirelli Scorpions, it almost begs just to see what it can do. Anyway, coming back into Hathersage now, so I will call it a day there. I think I'll record my final thoughts when I get home, and then try and edit this together into something that is actually helpful to people who are considering one of these bikes. So that's it. That is the end of my test ride on this Benelli Leoncino 800 trail. I've really enjoyed it, I really have. It has made me think about naked bikes and what they're good for and what they're there for, which does make them quite hard to review, but I've thoroughly enjoyed the afternoon I've spent on the bike today. Having said that, the sun has been shining all day. It's an absolutely beautiful day, even now in the Peak District. We don't get skies like this every day of the year. So, to go out and have a naked bike, to just go and explore, experience the engine and just have a bit of a play. If you ride a motorcycle, you'll probably know what I mean. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think for £7,000, I think they're exceptional value. Will I be getting one? No, I won't. It's not because there's anything wrong with it, and not because it isn't a good motorbike. It is, it's excellent. And the fact you can get it for that price, there's probably not a lot around that compete with it. The reason I'm not getting one is I already have a Ducati Scrambler 800, which is, I guess, broadly similar. I already have a CCM Spitfire and already have a few trail and adventure bikes. So between all of those, this doesn't really fill a gap in my garage. Now, if I didn't have any of those, I was just looking for one bike, maybe just getting into biking or maybe stepping up from something smaller, would this be on my list? Absolutely. I think if you're looking at, a Triumph 800 Scrambler, and if you're looking at the Ducati Scrambler 800, I would definitely include this in your shortlist. It's not the same, of course it isn't, but then the build quality on this I think is really good. The quality of the plastics, the quality of the welds, the fit and finish is excellent, as it is on the Triumph and as it is on the Ducati. But I think given how these are priced and how low they are priced, certainly warrants a look in. Even if they don't offer something completely unique or different, they do offer something very, very similar for a lower price point. So, the Benelli name does have some history, even though I think the group is now owned by Geely, that owns Volvo and Lotus amongst others. They do the manufacturing in China, but the company is still based in Pesaro in Italy. So yeah, if you want some Italian design at a knockdown price, then maybe one of these is for you. Anyway, I hope that's been interesting and useful. If it has, please check out my other content and maybe I'll see you there. Thanks for watching.